for those who weren't able to join us here sa Google Meet. Ipa-take note na lang itong mga students kaya hindi kasulod so that pa-take note lang so that at least ma-excuse man sila sa class. As long as it's valid. Okay, and then reasonable syempre. Okay. So I will mute you again so that there will be no disruptions in the class. And then anyway, you can unmute man after the class. You can just save all of your questions for later. If you have concerns, you can type the concern or your questions in the chat box.
Get ready for the bank robbery.
Let us now continue with the origin of the tourism industry in the Philippines. So, the one that we actually learned just a while ago was the history of tourism in the entire world na siya, no? So, in general. Now, in the Philippines, we also have a separate or a different kind of history. The only difference lang is when we started our tourism activities, basically, colorum lang siya, no? It was unregistered. The earliest form of tourism activities, we weren't able to record it because the Department of Tourism did not exist at that time yet. Okay, wait lang camera ko. Wala ka move ang slides. Okay. So, tourism in the Philippines began when the original inhabitants of the country roamed around in search for food. So, the people who are living in the Philippines are basically not originally from the Philippines. They came from other places in the nearby countries, maybe somewhere in East Asia. So, pagkakuha nila nga murag winter time na, scarce na lang ang food. Gamay na lang kayo ang pagkaon kaya syempre there is a change in climate. So they had to travel to the Philippines where it is more tropical and there is an abundance in food and plant life, no? And then they made use of the land bridges. So these land bridges which connected mainland to our country, mo na ilang gigamit and then mo na siya, no? Dira na sila nagstay ang uban mga nomads nga wala pod sila permanent residence, nagbalik man ang uban nag-permanent pod stay dira until mo na siya, no? Na yung mga early records of man na gani sa may Palawan, di ba, like ang Tabon man, which there's an indication nga mo na to ang mga ancestors or dira ta nagikan. A more recognizable form of tourism appeared in the Philippines when the country was discovered by Ferdinand Magellan. It was some form of not just tourism, but it was basically the expansion of colonies, no, of Spain. It was more of mercantilism, and then ang ilahaan na is to find the Spice Islands, and then muna siya, no, nasa laag sila sa Philippines. But anyway, now let us proceed to how tourism came to be in the Philippines. So during the American occupation of the Philippines, Americans were to reach Manila after 2 weeks on board the Pan American Airways air clippers. So it was not actually kita ang ning agto sa laing nasod when the first tourism activities were recorded, but it was basically foreigners who came from other countries. Okay, gikan sila sa Hong Kong, and then they went to the Philippines to travel, to do sightseeing, and then they make use of foreign pod nga airway air clippers. So di wala pa siya ginatawag og airplane before, air clippers lang. In 1920, the steamship and the airline pioneer China Clipper and Manila Clipper brought some passengers to Manila via Hong Kong. So, foreign travel Japan siya, no? Mga aircraft, pero di mo siya ingon airplane pa sa una, air clippers, who will bring tourists in our country and they will stay for a while, do sightseeing, no? Learn culture from the Filipinos, and then muna siya. That's it. Now, because of this, daghan na kaayo og mga Filipinos, just like the previous nga history of tourism, nga nag-take advantage sa daghan kay mga turista nga ning travel sa Philippines. Okay? So, travelers from abroad were provided inland tours by entrepreneurs with their unregistered private cars and coaches called Colorum. So, muna siya no Colorum pa na before kay it was not basically registered by DOT. There were no tour guides sa una or travel agencies that will cater to the needs of travelers from abroad. What basically happened is gikan siya sa Hong Kong, travel sa Philippines. Kita din mga Filipinos, uy, daghan kay mga turista. I have a private vehicle. So, kabalo man ko asa ang mga tourist destinations, mga kananan, mga accommodations here in Manila or here in the Philippines. I will bring my private car and I will tour them around. So, that was basically the first some form of informal tour guiding or as we call it nowadays, tour driving. So, you are the tour guide and the driver at the same time. Sa karon di na siya pwede nga unregistered ka. You have to be really accredited by DOT. So, there are accredited tour guides by DOT nga they can conduct formal tours. And then, ay uban pud gani magkuhag driver's license so that they can do tour driving. Okay? They can drive their tourists around without hiring any driver kay sila na lang mismo. But before, wala pa na siya registration. So, kung kinsa lang to ang gatag iya o private cars na ay coaches that are driven by horses. So, they will tour these tourists around to earn a living. So, take note that the word there is entrepreneur. So, nga businessman who took advantage of the situation of the influx of tourists. There were also some offices like American Express International, which formally arranged land tours for foreign travelers. So, wala pa na tayo mga travel agencies, no? American Express International lang kay. Syempre, dito naman nagsugod sa laing nasod ang mga travel agencies, which started by Thomas Cook. And then during that time, there were only few tourist attractions and destinations in the Philippines. So there are only a few tourist attractions and destinations in the Philippines. These were Manila, Pagsanhan Falls, Laguna Lake, Tagaytay and Taal Volcano, Mount Mayon, Legazpi, Baguio City, and Banaue Tour. There were other popular tours in the south in the 1920s, which were Cebu City and Zamboanga. So unlike karon, wherever you go, there were a lot of tourist attractions na kung asa ka mo ang tunan mga mountain resorts. If you go to Don Salvador, naglaray ra siya dira ang kanang mga kapihan, although dili man siya basically good for overnight stays, pang day tours lang siya, pero it's still some form of tourism, no, or tourist attraction. People still get to take pictures, no, daghan na kay mga discovered nga mga hidden falls, mga resorts na nay mga pwede ma-substitute sa Siargao and Boracay, kaya there are also hidden white beaches all around our country. O sa una, dili na ingana, no, few lang pa lang ang na-discovered, kay few pa man ang resources, wala pa'y DOT to discover that or to develop these attractions. So, few lang, kanilang ni sila sa una, karon dili na maihap ang tourist attractions. It was difficult to also measure tourism activities before the World War II because there were no agency to do so. And then in 1947, a more orderly tourism activity started. Steamships and airlines began to service the Philippines from other countries. So still, we don't have our own steamship and airlines. We still had to get that from other countries, no, like the airway clippers. In 1952, the first tourism association in the Philippines was organized. This was the Philippine Tourist and Travel Association, or PTTA. So contrary to what we usually believe, DOT was not yet developed during this time. And then later on, the government organized the Board of Travel and Tourist Industry. And they subsidized the PTTA. They took under their wing ang PTTA or Philippine Tourist and Travel Association. So, their role was actually to regulate, supervise, and control the tourist industry. Ilang i-regulate, ang tawag nila if wala by mga para sa itong mga kolorum nga mga entrepreneurs nga mo take advantage sa mga tourist. They make sure nga ang mga tourist attractions kay it's still clean, well-maintained. Okay? Muna ang trabaho ni BTTI or Board of Travel and Tourist Industry. And then PTTA became its promotional arm. Very much like what is DOT doing now. DOT is there to regulate, supervise, and control the tourism industry, as well as provide opportunities for livelihood related to tourism. And they have with them the Tourism Promotions Board, working closely with DOT to promote, from the word Tourism Promotions Board, TPB, Tourism Promotions Board is there to basically promote the tourism activities of the Philippines. So the Philippines has undergone economic, social, and political crisis starting in the 1960s up to the 70s, which hindered the promotion of tourism. Basically, in the 70s, that was the start of the martial law. Some would say that the martial law help in increasing or improving the tourism industry. Others would say dili pod kaya syempre it was unsafe anymore to go outside. We basically do not know because we were not born during that time. Our parents were born during that time. So there were several narrations as to what, but in the earliest records of tourism activities sa 80s and 70s, medyo ga-struggle na ang tourism industry. So, tourism in the Philippines today is the result of the continuous development and promotion from 1950 to the present. One of the best, I would think, sa mga gipang kina-admire na ko nga tourism or tourism secretary kay si Bernadette Romulo Puyat, not because she's also very pretty, but during her time, she basically empowered women in tourism, give them opportunities for livelihood, and then she's also fond with native mga native nga mga products made by women. And then during her time nag-flourish jud pud ang tourism industry, but we don't have to basically owe it all to her. It was the effort of the previous tourism secretaries before her. But again, I think she was one of the best as well. I like how she, together with TPB, promoted the tourism industry even during COVID. They made it as like a safe way of doing that. So, din na pwede siya na-develop ang National Tourism Organization of the Philippines. Before DOT, before Department of Tourism, ang tawag niya is National Tourism Organization of the Philippines. So they have several plans and programs to ensure the pleasant and hospitable entry, stay, and departure of tourists, as well as to assure a harmonious, positive, and constructive development of the tourism industry. So, one of their plans was first to increase visitor arrivals, especially from nearby markets like Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, and high-spending markets like Germany. So, kaning Japan, aside from Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, these are nearby the Philippines. They are located in East Asia and basically neighbors, So, one of their plans is to increase visitor arrivals from these countries because they're also high spenders. Even gani si Germany. So when they travel to the Philippines and they spend money, that could also provide a lot of income for our country. So increased tourism receipts through longer stays. So not only nga we will encourage high paying katong kusog kaayo mo gasto nga mga tourists, like coming from Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and Germany, but we also would encourage them to stay longer in the Philippines, because the longer that they will stay, the more money that they can spend. Imagine if they spend at least $110 per day. $140 gani mismo class is already 10,000 pesos. So, siguro around sa mga 7 or 8,000 pesos ang mas spend nila per day. And then 7,000 pesos times 11 days pa jud, plus per tourist lang na ha. So kung imong i-multiply ang 7,000 sa 11 days per one person, i-multiply nimo sa 50 tourists, dako na jud kaayo na siya og revenue sa ato ang country. Revenue sa mga establishments that is related sa tourism. So, this can be accomplished nga magdugay sila og stay sa Philippines and spend more money by introducing them to more attractive destinations. So, mag-develop og mga daghan kaayo og tourism destinations that are attractive to our tourists, more shopping and dining, and also, not just for the budget traveler, but for the upscale markets or katong naa sa mga mga social nga or nasa upper class nga can really afford and spend a lot of money. So appeal man na ang dining and shopping. Other countries, they thrive on that kind of tourism. Na yung mga shopping centrals, like known na silang country nga they have the best shopping malls. Other countries, like take for example like Singapore and Thailand, they thrive more on food tourism. So na pa yung uban mga depende na siya sa offer per country. Next is expand domestic tourism through more promotions, cheaper tour packages, and new facilities, especially for the lower income segments. So, hatag po ta og mga affordable tour packages nga dili lang ang katong maka-afford ra ang maka-travel, but also katupong mga naa sa tight budget like kita, di ba? When we travel, we consider mo good tourism class as a high involvement kind of product. Although, di ba, when we say product ka nang mahikap man, pero the tourism industry is a high involvement kind of product because it takes a lot of time to decide if you really want to travel, and it's expensive, no? It takes a lot of money to travel. So, mao na siya nga, since high involvement, expensive man should mo travel, i-expand pa siya og more promotions, cheap tour packages, so that ang katong mga dili jud ka-afford, they can still enjoy traveling if we provide cheaper, affordable tour packages. Kanang dili man siya dinuon ning anak ka 5-star ang accommodation, but at least it's comfortable enough for their 3-day, 4-day stay. Okay? So kanang nasa mga lower income. Next is expand the capacity for tourism by promoting more private sector investments. So, hotels, resorts are part of the private sector. These are not owned by the government. DOT is part of the government, but they are just there to regulate tourism activities and help encourage the growth of tourism. But the one who are actually building infrastructures for tourism and hospitality are the private sector. Kanang mga dato nga gatag-iya og mga hotel, mga resorts, kanang mga business moguls nga ga-earn og own og different chains of hotels. And if we encourage more participation for them, that would also increase more infrastructures for tourism. Number 5, improve the standards for service through the expansion of training programs for the professionalization of the tourism management and labor force. Okay? So, syempre, in order for our tourists, gusto ni DOT nga na ay high quality service nga i-provide sa mga different tourism establishments. And to accomplish this, dapat i-train og tarong, ambot ko kasabot mo og tarong nga word, but train og maayo. You have to train these people properly so that they can provide quality service. And if you're able to provide quality service, your tourist or your guest will be happy, with your service and they will stay longer in the establishment. Diba kita, if we feel nga we are accommodated or atimanta, no? If we are taken care of by service providers, no, like kanang go-work sa hotel, we feel happy by the service, we feel nga kanang more important jud ta, and because of that, no, we stay longer, or we recommend the place, or we come back to the place. And that is what DOT is trying to achieve. If they want their tourists to stay or to go back to the Philippines or to remain longer in the Philippines, they have to make sure that the people providing those services in hotels and resorts have proper training so that they can provide quality service. Number 6, program major tourism infrastructure projects. Okay, so they're also trying to aim if they or trying to achieve if they can provide programs for infrastructure projects. Next one, engage in major tourism estate and resort development. The number 8, classify facilities in tourist sites according to the international standards. So, syempre, in order also to meet, no, the demands of our foreign tourists, we have to meet also the international standards. Kaya if we meet international standards in our facilities, no, hotels, restaurants, it would provide also a better experience for our tourists. Number 9, strictly enforce the tour facility standards. And number 10, ang gusto ni DOT is to promote self-regulation within the different sectors of the tourism industry. Okay. Sa part ni Chargen, sa iyahan na siya nga connection if ing ana na ang sa iyahan nga part or sa connection guro niya if dili siya kasulod. Sige lang, that is okay. There is a recording Japon. Karon pa ko ka-open sa Messenger. Okay. Next one. Ay, wait lang for a while. So sorry for that, everyone, for the interlude. Sure. Pero okay lang, no. My tourism students came man sa balay na naregihatod. Okay, let us now let us now proceed to our discussion. So the next one is complete the National Tourism Plan and Destination Tourism Plan. Basically, even our local government unit, they have their own tourism development plan. The purpose of this one is to make sure that magsigira Japon tag-develop sa mga potential tourism destinations, and that can greatly benefit the city. It can provide jobs, like what I've said sa first discussion na ko nga, it can provide jobs to a lot of people. It can help also develop the attractiveness of a city because na exist nga tourism destination. At the same time, yeah, it can also help discover new na pa mga tourism destination nga pwede ma-protect and ma-regulate, no, ma-monitor sa tourism, city tourism. Okay, so dili lang ang atong local LGU, even the provincial tourism office up to the national, dito na dapit sa DOT, they have their own national tourism plan and destination tourism plan that will help build, or let's say grow, no, the tourism industry. Okay, the tourism industry basically provides a lot of sa economy na to. Like I already established in the previous class, or sa recording nga inyong na-witness. So, number 12, encourage consumer advertising in selected markets. So, part of their plans is also encourage, no, advertising, so that person ng mga kuan good ka na mga it's more fun in the Philippines nga advertisement, or karon kay Love the Philippines na no, which spike up controversy because they've used clips from other countries. So, dili na nagikan sa Philippines, no? Love the entire naguro nga world. So, anyway, ang part of their plan, together with the Tourism Promotions Board, is also to encourage advertising. Although, the Philippines is already known to have beautiful, natural, and man-made attractions, kinahanglan na siya pod og constant advertising so that we can encourage more tourists who are not yet aware of the beauty of the Philippines. Galing, unlike other countries, no, like Malaysia, Truly Asia, Simply Thailand, no, nga kanang ang ilahang nga slogan nag-exist na siya for years. Sa ato mag-change ang ato ang slogan depending on the DOT secretary that will be put in that position. So, no, it's more fun in the Philippines during sa time ni Bernadette Romulo Puyat. Change na dayon siya to Love the Philippines sa time ni Cristina Gracia Franco. Okay? So, anak ni Gov. Gwen Garcia. So, it changes. But, in that way, it can also provide something new na pod to look forward sa ato ang tourism industry in the Philippines. And then number 13, work closely with the private sector in product development, just like encouraging them to participate and build more infrastructures for tourism. And then 14 is develop and strengthen linkages with the local government, the private sector, and the public through tourism councils. In every city, dili man siguro ing ana tanan, no, kay na may uban nga mga syudad or municipalities nga dili active ilahang tourism sector or their city tourism office. But in San Carlos City, it is actually encouraged. Before naman sila tourism council, I do not know if it still exists, but the tourism council comprises of the private sector, the government, and the public sector, which they work together and think of new plans to improve the tourism development plan so that mas munindot pa jud ang mga attractions or events sa inyuha nga syudad and can draw in more tourists, increase the influx of tourists, and increase tourist receipts. Ang tourist receipts kanang spending sa inyuhang mga tourist. Okay. Let us now proceed to international travel patterns. So, major travel flows occur between the US and Western Europe. So, why is this so? US and Western Europe are basically big spenders in tourism. When they travel, they spend more money because, syempre, kuan po sila, no? Powerhouse countries po ni sila. Dako po daw income ilahang mga locals. At the same time, they spend a lot of money and they spend longer times in different countries. Usually, sa mga tropical places na sila gaagto. And part of that is also the Philippines. So, secondary regional patterns. So, right after the US and Western Europe, you also have South America, the Caribbean, Africa, and Near East and Far East. Most of the people travel here because tourist attractions exist in these places. South America, no, kanang parts anang sa Brazil, Argentina, no, Peru, no, daghan man po sila mga beautiful tourist attractions. And the weather there is kanang ninot pod siya, no, dili po siya parehas anang sa uban nga countries nga tugnaw kaayo. So that's why daghan kay og mga travel patterns dira. May nga tag travel patterns class kanang flow of people balik ang flights, asa man nakalabanan ang flights gikan, asa man kalabanan gaagto ang mga tawo because mabantayan man na nimo sa flights, di ba? Daghan kayo og flights coming from US and Western Europe. Okay? And then daghan kayo gaagto sa South America based on the travel patterns, Caribbean, no, or flight patterns. Okay, Africa, Near East and Far East. So daghan, no? So the heaviest flow of air traffic, may tag air traffic, so ang pag back and forth travel sa airplane. So ang heaviest flow of air traffic is between Europe, New York, into Europe is between New York and London, sorry. And then within Europe, major flows are between London and Paris, London and Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Brussels, Zurich, Geneva, Madrid, Copenhagen, Vienna, Milan, Roma, and Munich. So these following countries within Europe daghan kay ga-travel, no? Within Europe meaning from London abi siya to siya Paris, or from Zurich siya to siya Milan. Pero kung gawas sa Europe, ang heaviest traffic dira is gikan sa New York pa London. Could be because of connecting flights, like wala na ilaing paagto sa London. Kung gikan ka sa lain nga nasod mo, agid kag New York. Or simply New Yorkers or Americans would tend to travel from New York diretso to Europe or diretso to London. So, makita nimo no kalabanan mga rich countries, okay? Na mga first world countries ni sila nga daghan og major air traffic or travel flows. So, ang top 10 countries generating international travel in rank order. So, meaning in rank from most to least nga international travel. So, ang pinakadaghan jud ang United States, masking asa ka kita jud kag American. No, West Germany, like we stated, we already established that West Germany is one of the highest spending tourists. Dagan na kwartang nasa Germany, no? And then United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, France, Netherlands, Mexico, Switzerland, and Australia. So these 10 countries spend a lot of money for international travel and daghan kaayo silang mga turista, daghan kay silang mga travelers coming from their country. And then Europe generates about 1/2 of overseas travelers to the US. So daghan kay silang overseas travelers ang Europe. Nakita naman nato nga number 1 man jud ang Europe sa mga major airflows together with the United States, no, specifically New York. So travel between European countries, intracontinental travel, has been very popular. This is one of the reasons why Europe has a large share of worldwide travel market. So if we combine all of the spending sa travel and tourism, ang pinakadako dira og share og spending kay ang Europe. Okay. So this is actually the last part of our discussion, factors that favor the growth of tourism. So there are several reasons why tourism flourished, no? Basically around the world. And these are the factors nga nag-help improve, no? Or help o grow sa tourism. Sorry, wait. Okay. You will start first with rising disposable income for large sections of the population. So in general, if more money, more means to travel. So that is why no karon since there are a lot of opportunities to incentivize travel. In fact, gani class in human resource, one of the things that can boost morale, kana ganing maginahan ng empleyado nga mo trabaho sa imuhang establishment is when you provide them with incentives. One of the incentives, like bonuses or promotions, are also incentive travel. Ang incentive travel is, if they do well, they will be rewarded with all paid expenses travel, meaning ipa-holiday ni mo imong empleyado nga nindot og performance, and then they get to travel, let's say, to Korea for 3 days, wala na sila'y bayaran, pocket money na lang because it's all provided by the establishment. Other than that, when people work, especially ka ng mga very demanding jobs nga ga-provide og dako pod kaayo nga salary grade, when they have extra disposable income, disposable income is basically extra income. If they have disposable income, that can also mean that they'll be encouraged to travel. So karon maglisod naman kayo no, kay murag mahal naman kayong palito nun, no, mahal na kayo ang bugas, pero before, when people have earned a lot of money and they have extra money, that is why most of them would spend their money on travel. Number 2, growth in the number of retired persons who have the desire and energy to travel. So, life expectancy is increasing. There are fewer deaths now because daghan naman og innovations in medicine. And then, also, daghan na pod og concern for diet and exercise, especially right after the pandemic. So, a lot of people also have, like, an option to retire early, kay kapuya na sila mag-work. So that would mean more time for them to travel. So I think ipa-lower man ang number sa retirement, no? Manang at least ma-enjoy pa nila ang remaining time left with their pension. No? Manang uban kalabanan gani mga tourist class sa cruise ship, kay mga sila, mga retired. Okay? Nanay mga pensionado na sila. Number 3, increase in discretionary time, shorter work weeks and longer vacation. So these actually help promote tourism, no, because instead of 50 to 60 hours, sometimes less than 40 hours na ta mo work per week, purya na lang sanay mga sideline pars na ako, no, kay usually kami 8 hours per day, and then di pa siya consumable tanan sa klase na at times we have also break time that we can do our paperwork. So inika gabi dili na mi mag paperworks, pero pars na ko nga we also have like part-time jobs, we spend more than 8 hours. But for other people nga walay part-time, no, they stick with their regular job, so nalessen na ang work week to 40 hours, and then that would give time for people to relax, no, and even think about vacations. And with incoming na ang October, daghan kayo og mga mga long weekends that could also help encourage the growth of tourism. Greater mobility of the population, so people became more accustomed to travel because of the increase in travel opportunities. There are a lot of transportation and schedules available, and then dali po kaayo ta maka travel to one place to another. In other countries, they also have like online payments, no? Like magtuabi ka og Singapore, di na ka mo gamit og money, no? You make use of your online banking or GCash, no? So there is a great mobility of the population. It's easier to pay, wireless na. And then there's also a lot of innovations in transportation, which could also help you encourage to travel. And then, number 5, correlate growth in the number of singles. So, syempre, people living alone have more free time. Hence, they want to socialize, to travel, meet other people. In fact, way back in 2017, kalabanan sa mga mo travel outside of the country are single female travelers. So they're single and mostly female because medyo it's an empowering thing to travel alone. And also scary lang, no? If babae ka. And basically, no, these female, instead of, kay, na naman na sa tong generation nga, we're afraid of commitment. That's why instead of settling down, even gani sa mga older 20 years old, no, they prefer to do a lot of things, to travel. You only live once, mga ingana, no? And then number 6, greater credit availability through credit cards and bank loans. So, if you do not have enough budget or money to travel, you can still pay for your vacation through credit cards. You can swipe lang ka dira, then installment na lang nimo pagbayad, no? Or you apply for a bank loan to support your travel. So again people have different preferences or in how they spend their money. Dili man ta ka-judge nila if mo na ang ilahang choice in spending their loans, no? Na may uban nga, palit na lang ako nagkuan, ma'am. So depende naman na, no? Na may uban nga they have the means to pay their bank loans, no? And the means to also travel. Nagiti usano kuan siya, travel vlogger siya, pero he's doing that because naman siya sakit. So before siya mamatay, grabe naman po ito ihang sakit. So, ga-travel na lang siya all around the world. He quit his full-time job. Imagine he quit his stable full-time job to travel around the world to and to experience new things because kanang matut pa niya kwarta, makitaan ra na siya, pero the experiences that you live by, dili jud, no? So, syempre, advantage po niya kaya again, no? Single man po to si sir. And also, he has other means to travel. He's also earning income through YouTube, di ba? Mag-vlogger ka, dagan kay kag views, maka-earn man kag income, ana. Number 7, higher education levels. So, since millions of students attend colleges and universities, they tend to become more interested in foreign cultures. And then what we see online, what we see on TV, we tend to become more curious about what it's like if we travel abroad. Number 8, the growth of cities. The Industrial Revolution brought about the migration of people from rural areas to urban areas. The people would like to travel na to cities because lahi raman dyan, all the resources are there. So, mo po na siya naka-encourage for people to travel. Number 9, simplification of travel through package tour. So, instead nga, hassle kaayo magbiyahe because you have to book your hotel room or book a flight, secure your plane ticket by yourself. There's already tour and travel agencies that will arrange all of your needs for you. Igo ra ka mo bayad, moingon ra ka, asa ka mo agto, unsay mga destinations that you would like to go to, and then they would arrange it all for you. Syempre na may difference in the prices, but it's less hassle, and at the same time, it's convenient on your part, no? Especially if you're going to travel to a place that dili kay ka familiar. Next is the growth of the multinational business. So, worldwide business interests increase both the need and habit of travel. And in number 11, modern transportation technology. So, technological advances in transportation have made long-distance travel faster, less expensive, and more comfortable. An example of this one, actually, classes ka ng mga bullet trains in Japan. Instead nga, mahassle ka kahit 2 hours on travel, 1 hour on travel, but with bullet trains, you can get there in minutes, no? Like 30 to 45 minutes instead of like 1 hour and a half. And that would provide you with more time to explore the nearby or the next city in Japan tungod kay na may modern transportation technology. It's faster, it's way easier to travel, and then instead nga ma-waste imong like 1 hour or 2 hours time mag-travel, maka-save kag time, makalaag, sightseeing because na-shorten imong travel time to 45 minutes. Next is shift in values. So, at present, several people place more value on experience, no? Labi na kitang mga nasa younger generations, no? We prefer now to travel and to live our life in the best way that we can as much as possible if we only have money, syempre, rather than own expensive houses or clothes or cars. we do not become materialistic, but instead our shift in values go into creating and building more experiences. Number 13, advances in communication. Television and movies enlarge the travel perspective. The world is brought into the living room through television, and we can easily see what are the best destinations because what we see that one on TV or sa social media. Okay? And then smaller families and changing roles. So, wala na tong mga para sa sinaunang panahon, class no, nga tag 9 kabuok, 12 kabuok, 12 children, 9 kabuok children in the family, no? Ang traditional or nuclear family would sometimes just compose of 2 or 3 children, and it's easier to travel with smaller families because dili naman ka magtagbog ko nga 12 kabuk imong anak, 9 kabuk anak pareha sa home alone no nga nabiyaan siya kay daghan kay sila sa balay. So wala siya na nabantayan sa iyahang parents nga wala day siya na appeal sa holiday or sa vacation. So with smaller children, it's more manageable and easier to travel. So those are just the factors that favor or help encourage the growth of tourism. And that would be it for our lesson 2. Next week, we will have a continuation of our topic in the history of tourism. Next week, history of hospitality management na po na nga to ang i-discuss. Let me just reverse the settings back so that you can unmute your microphone if ever you have questions. Questions, students? You can raise your hand, unmute your microphone if you have any questions that you would like to raise. And again, for those students who were not able to be with us this evening, it's understandable. Play lang ko og send og message so that you will be excused sa ato ang klase. If there are no questions, let me call your name one by one, and then once you are present, kindly click the raise hand button. Para dili na lang jud magkuan ang microphone, no? Click lang raise hand button. If duha mo ga share sa usa ka device, the other one can just unmute and say present. Okay. Albances, John Vince. Crystalline. Si Miss Crystalline. Okay, wala na kasud. Okay lang. Amando, Angelo. Geraldine, Argel. Micaela Bellarmino.
Present, Miss.
Okay. John Patrick Biasca. Brilio. John Peach ba niya siya? I-correct lang ko if ma-mispronounce ako yung name ha. Bukayan Heden.
Present, Miss.
Bulahan Andrew. Regine Ann Camazora.